I'm Kieran Daly, editor of AI Business, here today with Glen Vanstone, Vice President for Trade and Investment, Edmonton Economic Development. Glenn, how's it going today?
It's going very well, actually. It's day two, but it's busy, and there's plenty of interest and plenty of activity, if you can see around the floor here. So it's very good.
So you've come here with the Government of Canada, Canadian Trade Delegation. But obviously your focus is Edmonton. What can you tell me about Edmonton as a hub for AI and tech?
Actually, in Canada, there's three major centers for AI: Toronto, Montreal, and Edmonton. In Montreal, there's Mila, which is the institute focused on deep learning. Toronto is Vector, also working on deep learning and machine intelligence. Edmonton is the Alberta Machine Intelligence Institute, which is we call AMI, and that really is kind of focused on the reinforced learning and natural language processing. So under machine intelligence, there's a lot of different types of disciplines, and it's a very large field. But in concert in Canada, all three of those are the main centers, the ones that are funded federally, and they're the ones that are drawing all of the researchers, all the entrepreneurs, all the folks that are getting into this space. As you can see, there's many. To really kind of rally around the science of artificial intelligence as it gets into development, commercialization, productization for the broader general population.
So what kind of partnerships and relationships are you aiming to build out of off the back of the event?
Well, the event itself is interesting because globally there is not any ecosystem around AI that has been fully formed, meaning that not only do you have the fundamental research, but you have that entire spectrum in the ecosystem of organizations that can do the development, the commercialization, and productization. So, like everybody, that's being formed as new startups or new organizations start to adopt to an AI industry or a sector, depending on how you want to define it. So here, what we're seeing is very much the same thing. Various organizations are getting involved in various ways. So whether you're Microsoft or a major organization, you're funding corporate labs or industrial labs, trying to bring your own people, get them infused into it. But the nature of AI is such that it can't be contained by a single organization. It's still too early stage, so everybody's trying to liberate the algorithms, liberate the findings to get that out into the ecosystem so that people can take that information, figure out how to apply it, and grow it in whatever area they're trying to get to. So it's a bit of a dynamic, and it's really kind of interesting right now to see how this is all coming together, really in terms of how is it going to shape up to try to solve real customer problems. Right?
So we've just had one of your counterparts from Quebec who's talking about a lot of the innovation there is focused on hardware, on health and life sciences. But what can you tell me about the verticals that are really taking off in Edmonton?
Same sort of thing. Health is a big part of AI. Certainly on the financial side, vast amounts of data owned by major institutions, and you need a couple of things to really develop the AI ecosystem. One, you need to have the science, the applications. The second is you got to have access to all this data. You need vast amounts of data to apply the algorithms to. The third big component out of that is that you need to have the industry domain. So who are the major users? In Edmonton, for example, health is a major issue. Now we have Alberta Health Services, like the NHS in the UK, they have vast amounts of health data, which is very important when it comes to medical devices or clinical trials or things. So in Alberta, health and life sciences, that's a field that's got a lot of upside potential for AI. At the same time, we're also in the industrial side with how does AI get applied into energy or commodity-based activities, where how do you improve on the sustainability or the clean technologies associated with global development. And so development moves past its traditional labor-based extraction into something that is really more technically advanced, and companies are figuring out how to adapt that. The largest investor in AI in the world right now is China. Now, not because they're trying to figure out how to own all AI, but they have major issues that they need to solve around health, around industrial development, environmental controls, where this kind of information, this kind of development and application technology can solve some of those problems. So it's a shared interest globally, but in Edmonton we're focused on a lot of these things. In fact, at Amy, that was the team that did the original AlphaGo, which created the program that proved that gamification and the science of AI in gaming has real-world potentials in terms of how do you teach machines how to make decisions. The other thing that they've done is one of the professors we were in Asia with not too long ago had commented about developing that program that was able to pass the Japanese bar exam. So whether it's financial services or new construction or energy technologies or health, when you move into areas where people have that personal connection, so health and safety of their loved ones, how does technology help that diagnosis and treatment? Same thing when it comes to nutrition. How is machine intelligence or machine learning going to help in the production of high quality, reliable foods? So these are the areas that this new industry is kind of focusing on. It's exciting. There's going to be all kinds of breakthrough things, but right now it's a lot of experimentation, and as companies trying to figure out how to make this work in a real world application.
So just to kind of, as a question to kind of wrap up, and take it out a bit, what do you think it is about the Canadian approach to AI and as part of industrial strategy and policy that allows cities like Edmonton to become hubs for innovation and tech and that kind of thing?
Well, one thing about Canada is because of this, we have a fantastic post-secondary platforms, and we don't have a national university system. So the universities that are into this, and particularly the Edmonton, Toronto, and Montreal, have developed the ability to bring in talent that are the leading thought leaders of certain elements of AI. That brings in the entrepreneurs. So from a Canadian perspective, new talent coming into the country, young Canadians that are getting involved in this space as part of their career development, trying to figure out what's the next, where do you take coding in terms of their education pieces, and how does that translate into entrepreneurship. So Canada has a large amount of small enterprises, and small enterprises are the kinds of organizations that are going to find a lot of success in developing future growth potential out of things like AI. The other thing Canada does is, in terms of its funding, is it also requires a component of that funding to be looking at what is ethical AI. So whether they're manifestos or the standards or global rules by which AI applications are communicated, taken, and put into practical use. That's a really important question, because for the reality of it is, I think most people look at AI as two things. One is it Wall-E or is it T3, Terminator? And again, that's at very basic levels. The other is this something that's going to help me in my career, in my job prospects, or is it going to take my job? And so we have early stage information that we really need to communicate in terms of what is AI, how is it going to help society as a whole, how can it provide benefits, until we get to the point where our tangible outcomes beyond fintech and different pieces that show up on your smartphone, which really isn't very smart after all.
Wow, thanks very much for your time today.
Thank you very much.